Hello, I'm MrShine, back once more for the conclusion of my Rogue Arena run. In my last video I drafted a very low curved deck with the hopes of controlling the early game. In this video I'll walk us through the run itself, including contentious draft picks and key moments of the games I played. First things first though, time to reveal the run's outcome. Unfortunately this deck did not perform quite as well as I planned, netting a 5-3 score, which isn't terrible but is below my average. Some of you viewers from Reddit may take sick, twisted pleasure from this fact, since there were quite a few picks in the draft that were given a raised eyebrow. Wailing Soul was once again made public enemy number 1 when it was matched against a Blade Flurry. While in the past I mentioned Wailing Soul wasn't as good as Gadgetzan Auctioneer, in this situation I decided to pick it over Blade Flurry, which I felt at the time wouldn't be as consistent. It turned out I drafted 3 Deadly Poisons and an Assassin's Blade there before all was said and done, so I have a bit of egg on my face, but the criticism forced me to take a closer look at Wailing Soul. After doing a bit more research, I determined that Wailing Soul is a decidedly below average 4-drop in the arena, and therefore no, it probably wasn't the right pick here. To MrShine Nation, I admit that this pick may have been a mistake, and I deeply regret my error. Another pick I could have done differently is the Dread Corsair over Assassinate pick. My thinking was I'd have a good chance at a cheap or free 3-3 with Taunt, since I had a lot of weapons in the deck. However, some good points were raised, specifically from a certain Matt27_ who mentioned that while a 3-3 for cheap is good, unless I'm able to get it out on turn 2 or 3, a 3-3 isn't exactly super in the mid to late game, so it likely wouldn't get a chance to help much. I've been hypnotized by Murlocs in the past, and now it seems Pirates were able to sway me into making a poor pick. What can I say, I'm a sucker for tribal cards, I guess. Finally, there was a pick between Cold Blood and another Zombie Chow at the end of the draft. This one was a bit of a slow burner, but I do think in retrospect that Cold Blood may have been better. In analyzing this deck, I should have recognized that the only way for me to win was to win early, and utilize the low curve my deck had available to it with fast-paced aggression. The longer games went, the less likely I would end up winning, since I'd be dropping 2 3s when they'd be dropping mid-game minions. Because of this, Zombie Chow becomes less valuable, and Cold Blood gets more valuable. Since this was my near-final pick and the deck was already formed, and Cold Blood would have been better for my deck's scheme, even though it is very rarely the best pick in an arena deck. So to sum up the draft, I think I made some mistakes by failing to truly identify the deck I was driving into the arena, and that may have been part of the reason I only went 5-3. Now I think it's time for me to show the games I played and comment on some of the events from the run. I'm going to make this portion a bit more gameplay heavy compared to other wrap-up videos, so let me know if you enjoy this approach more or if you'd rather have me expand on a few select games instead of the entire run. In Game 1, I was able to start off strong with some Deadly Poison. I was then able to utilize the Dread Corsair and another 2-drop on turn 3, achieving the Piratey Dream. Yarr! My opponent slow played his hand, choosing the hero ability almost every turn, and while it did bring my life low, it allowed me to completely dominate the board, winning handily by turn 7. In Game 2, after the mage frostbolted my 2-drop, I decided to take a chance on a Questing Adventurer. It had the advantage of an open board, and my opponent just playing a removal spell. Plus the other cards in my hand had useful abilities I didn't really feel like playing here. I was then able to protect the Questing with taunts, and start leveling it up. This forced the mage to take a tempo hit by polymorphing the Questing, and that helped me put myself in command of the board in the mid-game. A Flame Strike on turn 7 set me back, and my deck's weaknesses started to show through as I had very few cards in my deck that could handle 4 damage sweepers. I still won the game by being able to push damage with Deadly Poison, but it was Flame Strike that made it a close thing. Fun note in this game, there was a mini Cultmaster puzzle I encountered. Do you see the best way to get through the board here? The correct answer is to position his board in a way that Cultmaster can get killed by Betrayal, netting him only 1 card instead of 2. Game 3 wasn't terribly exciting, so I'm going to skip through that one, but in Game 4 I came across a Shaman who was able to dodge certain death multiple times. At one point I had commanding board and almost had lethal, and the Shaman was able to clear my board with a variety of removal spells. Shortly afterwards, I had lethal threatened in another commanding board state, and the Shaman dropped the Black Knight to blow up my plans. Finally, I had lethal threatened once more, and the Shaman was able to throw up a Sludge Belcher, surviving with 1 HP. I should mention, to add insult to injury, that if the Zombie Chow in my hand was the Cold Blood I could have drafted instead at pick 29, I would have been able to win this game. But as it turns out, the Shaman had a Fire Elemental to put me out of my misery. God, I hate shamans. In Game 5, I faced an aggressive druid who gave me a lot of opportunities to make good trades in the early game. This ended up giving me massive card advantage in the mid game, and from there I controlled the board with weapons, got a cheap Molten Giant out, and the rest is, as they say, history. Moving on. I was feeling a bit frisky in Game 6, and decided to push for damage with a poisoned Assassin's Blade. This backfired a bit when the mage was able to bring in a Defender of Argus and secure the board, and in fact almost sealed my fate on turn 7 with some big spell burst. However, the mage made a crucial mistake by playing a Zombie Chow, and I was able to top deck an answer that let me hold on just a little bit longer. The mage countered with a Flame Strike, and we began Top Deck Wars, the fun luck-filled game that I was fortunate enough to come out ahead in. I ended up stealing a win here due to the mage's misplay of the Zombie Chow and 2 lucky top decks. In Game 7, I was able to fight through early coin play by the mage and establish board control, but this was a game where my deck's weak late game was very apparent. I simply began to run out of steam with a stream of 2 and 3 drops, while I had to go through several 5 HP minions. The mage was able to turn the tables on me in the end, and gave me my second loss. In Game 8, my karma from Game 6's stolen victory came back to bite me in a big way, as I lost a game that by all rights I should have won, and would have in a majority of cases. It's time for me to nurse my wounds once again by showing some RNG in my opponent's favor. Consider this board state. True, the shaman has a lot of cards in hand and I'm spent, but with my weapon, which was a 5 damage Assassin's Blade, I represented 30 damage on the board, and the shaman has a single totem in play. Even if the shaman has a few answers, there were a lot of threats that need to be addressed if the shaman wants to survive this turn. However, the shaman is able to hit a 33% chance of a taunt totem, and then the 50% chance to kill my SI7 agent with the Lightning Storm, which allows him to survive from lethal for 1 turn. The following turn I clear the threat with my weapon, and once again threaten lethal with 2 minions that are out of range from most shaman spells and abilities. Victory once again seems assured, however it is not to be, as the shaman once again hits his 33% chance at a taunting totem, and once again hits his 50% coin flip to kill my 2/3 Sun Fury Protector with a Lightning Storm. My following draw was a Dark Iron Dwarf that would have given me lethal if the Protector would have survived, or if the taunt totem wasn't summoned. My opportunity to kill the shaman was foiled multiple times in a row by combined rolls, a combination that will happen less than 3% of the time. It just so happened that this time I was on the receiving end of the bad luck, and a top-decked fire elemental sealed my fate a few turns later. I hate shamans. Well, that ended our run at 5 and 3, so this deck did end up underperforming slightly. Had I drafted a deck with slightly more late game, it may have given me at least 1 more win, and there were also a few games that I came close to winning if not for the heroic responses by shamans and RNG, so it wasn't out of the question that we could have gone to 7 wins with this deck. Still, it's not all bad, since I was able to get a golden rare and an epic in the card pack. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, check out my content at HearthstonePlayers.com, and subscribe to the YouTube channel for weekly videos. You can also check out my personal YouTube channel if you want to see other gaming content. As always, I've been MrShine, and I'll see you next time!